my own area is refugee protection and international migration, but I follow Richard's work very closely because it's so important and relevant, in fact, to the work that we're doing. And I think we're going to try to draw some of those connections today. Our topic is our water planet, global public health, the common good, sustainability, and ethics. And one of our hopes is to provide a moral and ethical language to think about water, the environment, public health, and various interconnected issues. This is a lot of territory to cover in a relatively short period of time, and I'm particularly happy to have Father Vicini, and one of his themes, of course, is interdisciplinarity and approaching immense challenges of this kind. And as a pediatrician, an ethicist, and a theologian, he draws on many disciplines himself and is kind of an embodiment of that notion. So it's great to have him with us. Another theme I think that we're going to cover at length is this sustainability theme, which is really a central theme, as many of you know, to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which were adopted in 2015. Goal 6 is to ensure the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. And it's got a number of targets that are totally relevant to the session that we're having today. These targets speak to universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water, improved water quality by reducing pollution, elimination of dumping and minimizing release of hazardous chemicals and materials, decreasing the proportion of untreated wastewater and substantially increasing recycling, increasing water use efficiency, ensuring a sustainable supply of fresh water, protecting and restoring water-related ecosystems, and strengthening the participation of local communities in improving water and sanitation management. I would like to go back even further to a commission that was called the Brundtland Commission, named after the chairperson of that commission, Gro Brundtland, who is the former Prime Minister of Norway and the Director General of the World Health Organization. And that commission lifted up this term, at least for me, of sustainable development in a 1987 report. And so what exactly does that mean? Because it's the theme of our event. It means that we need to meet present human needs, particularly the needs of the poor, in a way that doesn't compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So it speaks to our responsibilities as stewards of the planet and even the universe, and our accountability to future generations. Sustainability is also one of those terms, like the common good, that recognizes our interdependence. And it's an interdependence that crosses borders, it crosses socioeconomic lines, and it crosses time as well, different eras. And it recognizes, which is very important these days to remember this, that none of our main global challenges can be solved unilaterally. So let me now turn to Father Vicini. He's a professor of moral theology at Boston College. He's enormously accomplished, and he's exactly the right person to address us today. And I'm going to pose 4, maybe 5 questions over the course of our conversation to Father. And then we can open it up and broaden the discussion. But to start, let me go right to the heart of this, Father, and ask you to speak to the ways that clean and plentiful water is essential to sustainability and is a condition of the common good.
Thank you very much, Don, for your very kind introduction and for helping us to frame our reflection, focusing on sustainability. The answer by trying to say a few words on water, second, on sustainability, and third, on the common good. So let us begin with water. On the planet, 97.5% of water is in the oceans. That is salty water that is not easily accessible. Only 2.5% is fresh water, the water we and animals can benefit from. 2.5% is a very limited amount. And on Earth, 3 are the sources of fresh water: 0.3% is surface water in rivers and lakes. 75% is in the ice caps and in the polar regions, but it is not easily available. And almost 30% is groundwater. Simply by looking at this data, we can say that fresh water is a precious and limited but essential resource, indispensable for life, for human beings, and for any life form. If we look at us as human beings, we are largely composed of water, 75% at birth and up to 60% of the adult body is water. And these percentages tell us that both by looking at its quantity and location, fresh water is a scarce resource that needs to be protected for our current generation and for future generations. We could say that we want the use of water to be sustainable, so that there is the water that we need for us and for those who will follow us. Now, if we turn to sustainability, I would like to add a few more things to what you indicated. I share what you said. You could say that sustainability is more than a commodity or the simple necessity. Say that sustainability is a good that encompasses ecological dimensions with their social and economic implications. As you indicated, sustainability depends on the fact that we are all interconnected and we are all part of a great relationality. We are all related, we could say. We, as human beings, and all living forms. We could say also that we share the planetary ecosystem and the smaller ecosystems in which the various living forms live. Concretely, what affects some of these living forms affects all of them. Sustainability asks us to reflect on human existence and on the existence of all life forms on Earth by considering how the way in which we develop, we could call it economic development or ecological development, as environmental and social impacts. And so we want to reflect critically on how we live and how we develop and how we progress so that it can allow us to flourish together with the whole planet. Hence, sustainability is connected to development. It implies our ability to meet the needs of everyone, protecting sufficient resources so that future generations will have too their chance and they will be able to meet their needs. And so you could say that sustainability is an ethical challenge. It presupposes our ability of analyzing critically how we live today, to reflect on our lifestyles, on the way in which we produce and consume and waste, on how we lived in the past and what we inherited from the past, and what we are going to leave to the generations that will follow us. To say more positively, sustainability aims at integral development for individuals, for society, for all life forms, and for all non-living creatures, for the whole planet. So we should be able to be careful and critical in looking at what's happening in the local context and how globalization is affecting each locality and what needs to be done structurally to address situations of inequity and inequality that will slow the increasing, hopefully, that we need to be addressed, because the goal is to slow the increasing environmental degradation and the human environmental suffering that this degradation is causing. If sustainability is such an important goal that is essential for the planet's integral development, as human beings, as you indicated correctly, we have the responsibility to strive for acknowledging, protecting, and promoting sustainability as humankind's common good. Sustainability leads us to ask for inclusive ways in which we can pursue the good that is the good for everyone, globally, everywhere. We could call it, as you indicated in your question, the common good, including everything and everyone, locally and globally. Now, some will not agree on what I just affirmed. They would say that it is a controversial task. The critics will indicate that it is not easy to define what is good for everyone, particularly if the scope of the interlocutors, we could say, is so broad. Particularly if we don't want to do it in ways that are sectarian or discriminatory or biased. If we want to include individuals, communities, groups, organizations, states, and all the living forms. And particularly if we want to focus on the powerless. Also, we can add, if we want to include the environment, the whole planet, it means that we cannot be only focusing on human beings. We cannot simply think that an anthropocentric approach will be sufficient. It's not sufficient to consider the needs of the human beings. The pursuit of the common good presupposes that our anthropocentric approach is integrated by biocentric, focusing on living forms, and cosmocentric dimensions, even going beyond our planet. If it is truly inclusive, the common good is not only good for human beings, but also for all living creatures, for non-living forms, and for the planet. Now, finishing on trying to define the common good, if we turn to the Catholic context, in 1965, the Second Vatican Council, in its document called the Pastoral Constitution on the Church in the Modern World, called in Latin Gaudium Spes, in English, Joy and Hope, offered a definition of the principle of the common good as the sum of those conditions of social life which allow social groups and their individual members relatively thorough and ready access to their own fulfillment. If we say it differently, the common good allows for the ultimate realization of individual capacities in the social context. And it concerns, as we said before, individuals, groups, and the whole planet. The goal of the common good is individual and collective flourishing, whether we think on human beings or creation. Now, when we look at our world, we see that we are far from this goal. We realize that we are marred by social, economic, and political inequities in the global south, but also in the global north. Hence, the common good in this context of, we could say, global injustice, aims at promoting social justice. In the case of human beings, all goods are included, all social goods are included when we think of the common good, spiritual, moral, and material. We could say that access to clean, fresh water is one of the essential social goods that the pursuit of the common good demands. If we care for the common good, if you agree that water is a good that should be easily accessible and affordable to all human beings and to the many living forms that depend on it, we need to protect it in sustainable ways. We could say that this is a very ambitious vision. And if we reflect critically on the social inequities that we have in our world, solidarity is a way in which we can implement this vision centered on the common good. And solidarity implies the fact that we are ready to serve, to care for those who in civil society have greater needs and are less advantaged. In, again, the Catholic context, solidarity means that we make a preferential option for the poor, and we aim at promoting the needs of those who are currently excluded, marginalized, or socially disadvantaged because of their economic or educational status, because of their gender and race, their religion or belief system. In the case of water, solidarity and a preferential option for the poor call us to make water a resource for those who might be excluded from having access to it now. Finally, this vision invites us to see how equality is integral to a vision of the common good. It aims to promote solidarity and to care for those who are left out. We could say in the case of water, equal access is essential But we could say that if the vision is global and the concerns are broader than simply the needs that we have, justice, order, peace, social welfare are part of this vision of the common good.
Thank you for watching the Future Frogmen Conversation Series. Please check out our website at www.futurefrogmen.org.